Got a knife back in the stable today that hasn't been with me for a minute. Nick Maffei, back in the day, back in the good old days of Spyderco and 2018-ish, 2017, 2018. And then when the rec PM3 came out, at the time, this was a super rare knife and something that a lot of people really were after. And this was at the peak of my being into Spyderco. And this one I had gotten in a whole, I bought a collection from a guy, and I had sent the whole thing to Nick to do the skinny mod. He was the first one to do the skinny mod for the scales, and he would sand this part down. And it was a cool idea. It lightened the knife, made it thinner. I think made the air goes a lot better, especially for guys with bigger hands. So I sent him a whole group of knives to do this to, and he did that. And then a little bit later, I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna piss off the community and make guys cringe and send him this. And I, you know, because modifying one of these was unheard of at the time. And so I reached out and I asked him. It's funny, I just went through the text the other day on Instagram, to see what we had said at the time. And I said, hey, let's make him cringe. And this, he said, bring it on, let's go. And this was going to be his number 30 that he did. This is going to be the 30th PM3 that he did in the skinny mod. And so he said, he called it Dirty 30. So he said, bring it on, let's do it. And so I sent it to him and he did the mod on it. And then when I got it back, I had put this nice pocket clip on it. I couldn't remember what I did with the original pocket clip. But anyway, a couple years ago, I sold it to a guy when I was getting rid of a bunch of Spyderco knives. And then recently, the guy that he sold it to reached back out to me and said, hey, would you like to get this back? He offered me a good price, and I said, sure. So I got it back. I recognized it immediately. It had a perfect action. Centering was perfect. And this was kind of at the peak of my tuning these knives and really getting them in really good usable shape, because often from the factory they weren't put together correctly, and you had a lot of issues. So I haven't done this in a long time, so I thought it would be kind of fun to do it again and see how it feels to put one together. But yeah, they're really neat. They are a neat knife. I've just gotten really away from Spyderco over the last few years, and I don't know. I haven't liked where Spyderco has gone. I think the Spyderco community has gotten weird, and just not real into the fan base, I guess, if you would. They're kind of the Democrat liberals of the knife community in my book. So I've just kind of stayed away. And then when Spyderco put out the National Day of Tool Worship and that kind of stuff, and as a Christian, I'm just like, yeah, that's not cool. So I don't know. I'm just not a big Spyderco fan anymore. But it was really fun to get this specific knife back. Brought back a lot of memories. Those were fun days, and weird days, but fun days. And so I just thought I'd take it apart, do a little bit of tuning, and just kind of get it back in order, and just kind of get it where I carry it again. I might actually carry it. I haven't carried a Spyderco in a really long time, and so I thought it'd be kind of fun to do this and carry it. But I cleaned everything. It's funny because the scales had never been taken apart on this one, so there was actually still sanding dust in one side from Nick sanding these, because he would do it without taking them apart. He would just sand this off and clean it really good and call it good. And he did beautiful job on it. So the way I usually start this, and I kind of had to review in my head how I did this, but the way I usually start these is I'll put this one side together and get it all done, and then put the lock side on, and then go back through and Loctite everything. So you can't really tighten these because they don't have a D hole. So you just kind of go with it. And I'll see if I realized I thought I had taken this apart like this before, but it actually looked like I hadn't. So that went back good, because they press these in, and sometimes I have to kind of repress them in. But yeah, so this is just kind of a fun thing that I wanted to redo. But Nick died back in, I was gonna go back and look for some of these details, but I think it was 2019-ish. And that was a real blow to the knife community, especially on the Instagram groups, because that's where I interacted with him a lot, is on Instagram. And he had guys that he really liked in the community, and he had guys that he didn't like, but he really never talked about that much. He would always, look, I'm already forgetting steps. I got to put a washer on there. And so it was just he was always just a nice guy in the community, and everybody really liked him. And I remember it was a pretty big shock when he died. But it was fun working with him on some of these things. So let's see here. I haven't seen his wife. His wife got active in the community for a little bit. I know the community was helping her out a lot. And then I haven't seen anything from her in a while, but probably haven't been watching, and Instagram doesn't show you stuff like you used to. So let's see how I do. I really haven't done this in a while. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Oops, I did do that right. But this used to be a little bit like man yoga. I'd sit and put all these together and tune them, get them going. You want to make sure this is lined up correctly. Sometimes you get a little bit of a shaving, but I think it works. You might have to actually press on the vise on this one. I've got the vise off camera here, so let me press it back together. Which sometimes pressing them together works really good, because they actually have a better hold. And then I'll check and see if I can see any light through there, which it looks really good. Just a little bit more here. Now this is a very used knife. I had actually carried it and used it, and that's really good now. Okay. But yeah, no, it was Nick was a loss to the community. A lot of things, but the skinny mod was one of his famous deals that he did. It was very, very cool mod. Man, this is crazy doing this. I haven't done this in so long. I haven't touched a PM Spyderco anything in so long. So the trick to getting these centered is you start by tightening your, I did it a little bit out of order. You start by tightening your pivot, and then you go back and tighten your standoff screws. I'm going to loosen them once more, run the action a little bit, and see, that's what you want. You want that drop close. This one just had a perfect action, I remember, once I got it done. And then you can flex the blade just a little bit to get it seated, And once you get it seated, often you'll get that perfect centering. And I'm awful close. Thing is, these blades were done, what we suspect was a little bit on the hard side, so they had, that's pretty dang close. So you don't want to flex on the blade too much. Okay, that is perfect. You can see there if I can get it straight. And it's got a, oh, I haven't Spidey flicked in forever either. It's got a, look at that, perfect swing to it. So now I will set the pocket clip, and this one is really cool because it kind of matched the bronzed out look, although it's a little brighter than the blade, but I thought it looked pretty cool, so I put it on there. So on these, I like to use a little bit of Vibratite, which is basically blue Loctite gel. And I'll usually do the top screw first. And I'll back it out until I hear the click. And I want it in a certain position. It gives me a nice straight line. And then I won't overly tighten it until I get my all screws set. And you can see I had Loctite on these before. There we go. And the screws will sometimes draw the clip into a natural centering because it's going to be based on the holes. That looks pretty good. I can see the rub lines. And then what I'll do is I'll hand tighten them with this. And then very gingerly with a little bit more torque. Don't want to overdo it because you can break them with this or strip it out. There, and now that clip will never come undone. They just don't work loose. There we go. A tuned, centered, perfect action PM3 with one heck of a history. Everybody have a good night.